So we have a cone which has a half angle of theta, and we have a jet of liquid which has a density rho, and the velocity of the jet is Vj, and the diameter of the jet is equal to dj. The fluid is deflected by the angle of the cone, and it is given that the deflected stream also has a velocity Vj. That is, it is uh, expelled all over the circumference of the cone, not just to these 2 points. All over the solid angle, it is ejected. So the question is, what is the force required to hold the cone steady? All right. So let me just rub out these extraneous lines, and let us draw a control volume. Let us take the control volume which contains the entire setup. So the control volume includes the cone. So what is going on in the control volume? So the jet is entering into the control volume through here, and the water is leaving the control volume. So like this. Okay. So the green line, you can imagine, it need not be like this. We can contour the control volume to be coinciding with the velocity of the jet. That is, the control volume is normal to the jets. No problem. And just with a little bit of thought, you can imagine that even if you choose a different shape of the control volume, the answers won't change. So the control volume has a force F. The fluid is coming in at the ambient pressure, okay, and it is also leaving at the ambient pressure. So no extra forces because of pressure. So let us first do the conservation of mass. So the control volume is stationary, that is, it has no velocity. So ddt of integral rho dv plus integral rho u dot n dA equal to 0. So this is the statement of the conservation of mass. I have not written the velocity b in this expression. So this is going to be 0 because the control volume is not moving and it is not deforming as well. Moreover, it's a steady flow. So we have integral rho u dot n dA equal to 0. And this particular integral will comprise of the incoming jet. So integral rho u dot n dA for the incoming jet plus integral rho u dot n dA for the exit. This is going to be equal to 0. Alright. So what is this expression going to be? It's going to be rho. So because the velocity is uniform, and u dot n cap will have a negative sign because the normal vector at this point is pointing in this direction while the velocity is pointing in. So it will be minus rho Vj times the area of the jet plus this is essentially going to be m dot at the exit, and this is going to be 0. Alright, so now let us write down the conservation of momentum. Once again, we have ddt of integral rho u dv plus integral rho u dot n dA is equal to 0. Not equal to 0, but it's gonna be equal to minus f. So we are more concerned with the momentum equation in the x direction because the other component of because of the symmetry on the problem, there will be no force in the y direction. Okay, so this is the x direction. So because of the symmetry, there will be no force in the y direction. So we are more concerned with the momentum balance in the x direction. So this term is going to be 0 because the control volume is not deforming and it's a steady flow. So we have integral rho u dot n dA. So instead of u vector, I'm just going to write it as u. That is, at whatever cross section we are taking this flux, we are going to only take the u component of velocity, and this is going to be equal to minus f. Okay, so what is the contribution of momentum coming in through this part? It's going to be rho Vj times, so these two terms are this, and u dot n cap at this particular point is going to be minus Vj times A of the jet. What about the exit? It's gonna be integral rho u. So because the jet is being ejected at a velocity Vj, but the cone angle is given as theta. So the component of the velocity along the x-axis is gonna be minus Vj cos theta times u dot n dA. So this comprises the left hand side, and this is going to be equal to rho, so minus rho Vj square Aj. Now this term can come out of the integral, so this becomes minus Vj cos theta times integral rho u dot n cap d. Now from this integral rho u dot n cap dA at the exit is equal to this particular term. That is, it's gonna be rho Vj Aj, and this turns out to be minus common rho Vj square Aj 1 plus cos theta. So from this we can write minus rho Vj a square Vj square A jet 1 plus cos theta is equal to minus f, and that gives us an expression for f. We can get rid of the negative sign, and that gives us an expression required to hold the cone steady. So if you apply this amount of force on the control volume, essentially through the cone, you will be able to keep the cone steady. And by symmetry, there will be no force acting in the y direction. The idea developed in this particular problem is quite relevant for power generation. Imagine you have a massive wheel on which there are various buckets. You have various buckets connected to this massive wheel, and there is a big dam. So dam is at a very large height, and the water coming in is diverted. So the potential energy of the water is converted to kinetic energy, and water is directed onto this bucket by means of a jet. So you have a nozzle like this, and so the water strikes the bucket and it encounters a change in momentum. So if you were to apply a force to keep the rotating paddle stationary, that kind of force you would be able to calculate with the help of the analysis above. And that change in momentum is actually what is imparting a certain torque to this wheel. If you let go of this force, the wheel will start rotating. Of course, once the wheel starts rotating, you can no longer do the above analysis, because in that case the control volume itself would be moving. So if you can imagine a cup like this, and there is some stream coming in and it is being diverted. Now imagine the cone itself begins to move. Now once the cone begins to move, if you consider a control volume which is moving with the velocity of the cone, the velocity b that we had considered to be 0 in the above analysis, it will not be equal to 0, and you have to appropriately account for that motion. So if you assume that the velocity of the paddle is the angular velocity of the paddle is omega, so the velocity with which the control volume will move will be equal to omega r locally, and that will give you the analysis starting point for finding out how much force is actually being transferred from the water jet to the paddle. And in fact, if you can couple this paddle to a generator in which basically you have a rotating magnetic field created by permanent magnets which are rotating, and a coil which surrounds these magnets, you will induce electricity by Faraday's laws, and that's how you can generate electricity. And in fact, that is exactly how electricity is generated in hydroelectric power plants. The problem is as follows. We have a nozzle shown in the yellow border which receives flow from the right and it vents to the atmosphere on the left. The conditions at point 1 are given by P1, rho 1, V1 and A1. That is, pressure at point 1 is P1, density is rho 1, velocity is V1, and the area of cross section is A1. And it is venting to the atmosphere, meaning the pressure over there is going to be PA, that is atmospheric pressure. The density at this point is rho 2, velocity is V2, and the area is A2. The question is, what is the force exerted by the fluid on the nozzle if the nozzle is static? Okay, so let us first write down the statement for the conservation of mass. So the control volume is this particular. So we can take only the fluid in this problem because we are asked explicitly what is the force by the fluid on the nozzle. We don't need to include the nozzle in the control volume. So this is the control volume. Okay. So the control volume is stationary and the control volume is not deforming and the entire flow is steady. So I'm going to directly write down the statement of the conservation of mass. It will be integral rho u dot n dA equal to 0. So what are the contributions? So at cross section 1, it will be, so let us consider this direction to be x direction. So, and I've drawn the control volume slightly behind, but it's the same thing. I mean, one could be over here as well, no problem. All right, so the contribution from of this mass at cross section 1 will be rho, then u dot n cap. So the n vector is like this and the velocity is going into the plane. So it will be minus v1 a1 plus, what is the exit flux? It will be, so this will be rho 1. So this will be rho 2 v2 a2 and this is equal to 0. And this gives us a relationship between this combination of terms, that is rho 1 v1 a1 is equal to rho 2 v2 a2, which is nothing but the statement of mass continuity. Now what about the conservation of momentum? Again, I'm directly going to write down the statement of the conservation of momentum for a control volume which is stationary and not deforming. So we will have directly rho u dot n dA is equal to the force acting on the control volume. Now let us write down the conservation of momentum equation for only the x direction. So this will be u component of velocity and this will be the x component of the force. So this will turn out to be, so for the first cross section, so because the x direction is pointing towards the left, this will be rho v1 and u dot n cap at the first cross section will be minus v1 a1. At the second cross section, it will be rho, so this will be rho 1. So it will be rho 2 v2 because the velocity is also in the x direction and this will be v2 a2. And on the right hand side, we have the forces in the x direction and that will be the force acting on the control volume plus the force because of the difference in pressure. The pressure difference is because of the fact that the pressure at point 1 is larger than the pressure at point 2. So this will be plus P1 times A1. Now this P1 should actually be the gauge pressure. We have already discussed that I can imagine another imaginary control volume which spans across the same area. And pressure being an additive term, I can apply a pressure of P across the entire imaginary control about the imaginary control volume of PA. So the pressure, or rather I can apply a minus PA over the entire imaginary control volume. So the pressure at point 2 will be 0 with this particular offset. The pressure at point 1 will be P1 gauge, essentially, which is P1 minus P atmosphere. So the force acting over here will be equal to plus P1 times A, rather P1 gauge times A, not A but A1. And so the force acting on the control volume will be equal to minus P1 gauge times A1 plus rho 2 v2 a2, rather v2 square a2 minus rho 1 v1 square a1. Moreover, we can use this relationship to write P1 gauge times A1 plus, now this V2, we can take it out of this term, and this comes out to be rho 2 V2 A2, and V1 we can take out from this, and it comes out to be rho 1 V1 A1. And we can write rho 2 V2 A2 and rho 1 A1 V1 as m dot. So finally, we can write P1 gauge times A1 plus mass flux multiplied by the difference in velocity. Alright, so this is the final expression for the force acting on the control volume.
But shouldn't be there a term for atmospheric pressure also?
The answer is no, because as I've explained, if you take an imaginary control volume which covers all the surfaces, meaning this particular surface, pressure, absolute pressure makes no sense. I can always choose an offset for the pressure, and the offset I can choose to be the atmospheric pressure. So the pressure over here, you can always choose it to be the atmospheric pressure. So the pressure at this point, it reduces to zero. This is zero gauge pressure. While this particular point, the gauge pressure is P1 gauge. That is why only the gauge pressure comes into picture. And you can say that I can write this particular term as P1 A1 minus P atmosphere A2. But then you would be ignoring these surfaces. Okay, these surfaces. So you can imagine that these surfaces.
Oh, okay, sir, I got the
Yeah.
mistake.
Sorry.
Sir,
That
what happened to the minus sign there? Am I missing something? I mean, when you moved from the second last line to the, I mean, FCV is equal to minus, and the next line does
okay,
not
okay.
have that.
Yeah. Sorry, this is mine. So there was a small sign mistake, and this should be minus. So this is the force, the expression for the force acting on the control volume. So the force exerted by the fluid on the nozzle will be the minus of this. Meaning it will be, so let us analyze what this is. Okay, so it is minus P1 gauge times A1, which is a negative term, plus m dot V2 minus V1. Now V2, whether it is going to be larger than or smaller than V1, you cannot say for sure because you don't know what the density is going to be. But if the density is constant, then V2 is going to be larger than V1. So this term is positive. But overall, this entire term, if it is negative, right, then there is a force on the control volume acting on this direction. And so the force on the nozzle will be acting in this direction by Newton's third law. Let us consider a problem in which we have a sluice gate, and on one end of the sluice gate we have a level of water at height h1 from the base, and the sluice gate can be moved up or down, and depending on the location we can have a eventual jet of water which will have a height h2. If we assume a unit width into the plane or some width into the plane, the velocity of exit once the stream becomes parallel is given as v2. So the question is, what is the expression for the force acting on the sluice gate? So let us consider this particular control volume. In fact, we can consider this entire control volume, no problem. So this control volume will also contain the force acting on the sluice gate. Okay. So the forces acting on this control volume will be the force on the gate. It will be the pressure of fluid on the left end, and the pressure of fluid on the right end. So let us first write down the statement of the continuity of mass. The control volume is stationary and we can directly and the problem is sort of, I mean, it's not going to be exactly steady, but the height on one end is so large that it's not going to change appreciably. So the problem for conservation of mass at least is steady. That is, h1 is not changing in time. If h1 were to change in time, so ddt of integral rho dv plus integral rho u dot n dA is equal to 0. So then actually more fluid is sort of coming in from this side to make up for the lost mass. If this was the only fluid you had on this side, then definitely this term would also be there. This term would be negative in fact, because you're losing mass. So imagine if this was the only fluid you had, so you are losing fluid from the control volume, and so this term would not be 0. But the fact that you have fluid all over the reservoir on the left hand side of the sluice gate, this particular term will be 0. This particular term would come out to be rho. So what is the velocity over here? It's given as v1, but n vector is like this, so there would be a minus sign, and the area would be h1 times the width into the plane, plus what is the exit? It's gonna be rho times v2 times h2 times width. This is a positive term because the flux is in the direction of the area. So from this we have v1 h1 equal to v2 h2. Now coming to the conservation of momentum, once again ddt of integral rho u vector dv, this term is not going to figure out in our equation, simply because the problem is behaving like a steady problem. Because the level of liquid remains constant. Okay, so this is not going to change, it's a steady problem. So now this particular flux on the left hand side will be minus rho v1 square h1 times width, and the minus sign comes into picture because rho u for the left hand face will be rho v1, but the flux is going into the control volume, and so the minus sign comes because of the direction of the flux. Plus on the exit hand we have rho v2 square h2 w. So this is the momentum exiting from the right hand side of the sluice gate. This is equal to the force acting on the sluice gate plus the forces because of pressure. So let us assume that the force is solely because of hydrostatic, rather the pressure is solely because of hydrostatics. Okay, so this contribution of pressure will be only due to hydrostatics. So we have already done this in hydrostatics, that the force acting on this entire imaginary area will be equal to half times the area, which is h1 times v1, times the pressure at the base, which is rho g h1. So essentially it's the pressure acting at the centroid multiplied by the area. So half rho g h1 is the pressure acting at this particular point times the area. So this force is acting in this direction, while on this small face it will be acting on the other side. So it will be minus half h2 v2. Oops, this will not be v, this will be the width. I don't know why I wrote. So h1 times w is the area into the plane. Okay, so this is the area, this is the pressure, this is the area, and the pressure at the centroid will be rho g h2. So this gives us an expression for finding out the force acting on the sluice gate. So let us write it down. So F is equal to, so we can make use of V2 H2 equal to V1 H1. So what will this become? It will become, so let us take rho V2 square H2 W common. So this becomes 1 minus V2 square upon V1 square H1 upon H2. And these fellows, they go on the left hand side to give, so half H2 W rho g h2 common 1 minus h1 square upon h2. All right. So this particular expression says V1 by V2 equal to H2 upon H1, or rather H1 upon H2 is equal to V1, rather V2 upon V1. So this becomes rho V2 square H2 W 1 minus now V2 cubed upon V1 cubed plus half W rho G H2 square 1 minus H. So we can write it in terms of V2 square upon V1 square. So this gives us the expression for finding out the force acting on the sluice gate. So now, is there a certain height ratio for which you get a maximum force acting on the sluice gate? And you can easily find this out by derivating F with respect to H1 upon H2. So the question is there a certain ratio of H1 and H2? Is there some H1 upon H2 which gives the maximum force? And I'll ask you to find it out. Try to plot it using MATLAB. So if you do want to do this, you should do del F del, let me call this as H bar. You have to take this expression, all right, and to find out the extrema, whether that extrema is a maxima or minima, you know how to find it out quite easily, all right. So this is how you can do it, and I'll allow you to do the remaining on your own. And you can also find out some kind of approximation when V1 square is quite small compared to GH1. So the meaning of this particular expression is the potential energy on the left side of the sluice gate dominates over the kinetic energy. Rather, the pressure force dominates over the momentum flux. This particular expression implies pressure force dominates over momentum flux. And you would imagine that to be the case because see, if the height is quite large, V1 would not be changing a lot. If this height is quite large, in order to maintain a given flow rate, V1 would be not changing at all. You would see that the fluid over here is almost static. So that is reflected through this inequality. And try to simplify the expression under this particular inequality.